Alright. Yeah, it's great. I'm Tony the Tiger now. I'm gonna get angry at furries on Twitter. Right, let's see if the YouTube is working. Jesus Christ, I'm sore. Okay, yeah, we're working, we're good. Cool. Sorry, this thing is very shaky today. There we go, much better. So, today we're going to take a look at some of the stuff I have been working on and talk about hobby goodness in and of itself. So, let's move our big cam into position, get it to stop shaking. And swap to her. Or not. Alright, let's check the big cam. Let's check the big cam. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Oh well. Whoopah! Alright, we're good, we're good, we're good. Looking good. Oh, yeah, there we go. Alright, move over a little bit until there's some like that. Alrighty. So on Sunday, we built and reviewed and unboxed our friend the AV98 Ingram here, Unit 2. I haven't done a whole lot with him. I do want to turn him into a like diorama scene because I've actually never done that. I think that would be really fun. So we didn't do a whole lot with him. However, the Bulldog is now in pieces. I've gone ahead and I've done some pretty heavy texturing on some of these parts here so that they have kind of a gnarly, kind of rough texture to their paint when they get painted. So that's just done with Tamiya putty that I basically brushed on. If I wanted this to be softer, I could hit it with like Mr. Cement or Cement S. So I did some other work here. You can see I did something where I broke that light. I added a little radio antenna because I thought it was weird this one didn't have one. Little hatches, stuff like that. Same thing with this. I added some little vents. These are all sort of like just Gunpla option parts. They're nothing really crazy or fancy. They're all just stuff that sort of like comes on a sprue. And that's what he'll look like. Just to give it a little bit more not so flat. This design is very flat. I think it's supposed to be like super aquatic looking, but it's also a tractor, so I just don't see it being that flat. Also added some bits. I did some research on tractors and tanks and stuff, and I saw that a bunch of them had these like kind of metal holders is the wrong word. Like I don't know, like bounce bars or something, I guess. So I thought it was a cool idea, and I thought it looked pretty cool. So I hooked up one of the legs with those. I thought it would also add some nice variation between the two. Hello. Hello. This is the most energy I got today, so I just had my second COVID shot yesterday, and it's just like the first one, it's kicking my ass. But yeah, I hooked him up with these here. I thought that was pretty cool. And then I've done a couple of like extra little like gear things and like pistons and stuff, just to try to add to the mechanical nature of this, make it look a little bit more mechanical. And then this would be like that, and then this would be like this, and this would go on top like that. So just a little bit more to make him a little more tractory, I guess. And I thought it was pretty fun. So I whipped those up. He's got some more details. He is, oh, as I knock that one out of place, to reglue that. He is, alright, we'll reglue that off stream later. He is totally disassembled right now because I am getting him ready for painting. So there he goes. And I've got to glue that now because I just broke it. So that is the Bulldog in work. I also picked up some of the new Slinash Sexy Monsters. I had to go and drop Gazgul off at the game store for his competition judging. So I thought it would be fun to make a Warcry warband out of all the new Slinash, like just the monsters. I don't really care about the humans. But these ones are like these big, what would you even call these? Like sea monkey looking horse creatures that also kind of look vaguely like penises. They're really nice models. You get 5 of them in a box, and you can assemble them as either archers, like this guy here, or you can assemble them as glaive guys, like this guy here. They are ridiculously detailed and delicate. They also have really bad nubs in a lot of places, but they are really, really cool looking models. Just if you pick them up, be careful with them and be careful assembling them. It's kind of a challenge. So you get 5 of those in a box. So I built 3 of them with glaives. I pretty much went through the sculpts and was like, oh, I like this horse with the glaive guy better than the archer guy. So I built 3 glaives and 3 bowmen. In Age of Sigmar, you can't actually run them like that. They have to be all glaives or all bowmen. But I'm using them for Warcry, so I don't really give a shit. So I'm building them to have all the options in Warcry instead. This guy is like a glaive leader. Didn't technically build a bow leader, I just didn't really... I kind of wanted 2 of each, and then I chose to build the glaive leader instead. So, they're pretty cool. They're going to get some green stuff work, because they're decidedly not penis-y enough for my Slinash tastes. And then I picked up a box of these Slinash Beastmen, who are really cool. They kind of have like weird drapey sort of like bondagey gear and big crab claws. And you get 3 really nice sculpts that all look really, really good. They're also going to get a bunch of green stuff as well, but they're super cool. You do get 1 leader model who I magnetized, because again, these are for Warcry, so if I didn't want to use the Slangor leader, I can just swap his arm out, and now he's a regular one. And boom. Now he's the leader. So, pretty cool. I do feel like these guys aren't necessarily expensive for what you get. I mean, Warhammer's stupidly expensive anyway. But the Slangors are beautiful, really nice models. They do very specifically go together one way, though. There's very little customization here. Like, you get like 1 optional head, and that's like it. And then you can have a sword or an axe. Like, kind of sucks. Also, you only get 3 of them, and they almost cost as much as 5 of these. So, I don't know. If I didn't really, really, really love the idea of like sexy beastmen and like pseudo bondage gear, I wouldn't have picked these up because they're not a good cost to model ratio. But sexy beastmen and bondage gear sold me, so I picked them up. Also, 3 of them is about half of a Warcry warband. So for Warcry, you're pretty much going to get like about 3 of these riders, and like 3-ish Slangors, or vice versa. And you're going to be slightly over. You're going to like 1050, something like that. If you had one archer, you could do 2 of the riders, 3 Slangor and an archer, and you would be at like 980, something close to that. Or you could swap out for like a Lord of Pain, which is another really, really cool looking model. And that would put you at like 1030, 1040, something like that. So there's some options there for building them without having too many of the little humans and stuff, which is cool. So we're gonna move them out of the way because they are unnecessarily delicate. I don't want to punch them while I'm painting. Boop. 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 There we go. Alright, sweet. Okay, so let's work on painting a robot. Let's actually not do this one. Let me grab a different robot. Then we can start from scratch. We'll do this robot. So this is a killer can. It's an orc robot with a little grot inside. They're pretty adorable. They've got like big cute faces and stuff. And they're pretty good. So first thing we got to do on these, because I haven't done it yet, we got to drill out these weapons. And then we got to figure out, you know, what parts are going to be what. So these guys are going to go into my Wawboys army. So they are going to be primarily dark colors. Because they're essentially getting painted as goths. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Right. And let's drill this barrel out. Give it some depth to make it look a little nicer. There we go. So these guys do have options for different weapons and stuff. Like this one has a flamer. You don't get enough options in the box for everyone to have the same weapon. Or I probably would have done that and given everybody like machine guns or flamers or something like that, just for ease of play. But you don't get enough options for that. So I just sort of built them as is, and they're pretty cool. Alright, so let's start picking out some pieces here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the model. Let me grab a paintbrush so I can point at things. Okay, so first initial factor, we have this big smile here. It's one of the main things that's sort of going to catch your eye right off the bat. There's also this plate here down between the legs, which, because there's sort of like this negative space around it, it's going to catch your eye as well. These are tusks, but from the front they're a little hard to see. Even from the side enough, they're kind of pointy, so they're not super catching your eye. And then we have like this like valve eye piece here, and then another eye here, and then a couple underneath of it. So we'll be able to do those. We're going to do those in different colors. Really make them stand out, give it some personality. We've got a big flat shape here, which might be good for a pattern. Same thing with the teeth. It might actually be a good idea to do the teeth in a pattern as well. We have lots of little mechanical detail here in the machine gun. There's some tubes here. We have an ammo drum. We've got some pistons. We've got some like heat shielding here and here. Got some more pistons, some wires. Some kind of like little fin detail down in there. That's okay. I've got some more like heat shielding kind of stuff. A bunch of little blowpipes. Got some more wires, some more pistons. We've got more pistons. A different type of wire here. I might call that out. I might keep it the same. This is our first instance of sort of like the Connex wire. Everything else is like pretty much just straight wire. And we've got this claw with some pistons and some teeth that we'll be able to call out, and they'll look really nice. We'll do those in silver. Same thing with like all the blades. We'll do all those in silver. Okay, so this shoulder is way more complex. Not going to be good for pattern. This one is probably our only one we'll be able to do in a pattern, and maybe the teeth. This right here actually is not bad for a pattern too. It's this big flat plate there. And it might draw your eye down a little. I don't know if I necessarily want that though. I think I might rather have the patterns be up near the eyes and the face. I did pose them in kind of an obnoxious way with the way this claw is posed to paint in some of the details, but it's okay. So let's go ahead and let's get some colors out. I'm thinking we're going to start with silver here. Get some of the silver areas blocked in and go from there. See what we got. Oh man, I doing my best, man. I did a little bit of work this morning and that's all I got. Alright. There we go, Mr. Killer Can. These are for the Wah Boys. So we are going to be painting that big smile this has in shiny and chrome. So we'll go ahead, we're just going to get some base coats down. The step's not going to be super neat or pretty, but we want to get some of the base coats down. Just so we have an idea of how our model's going to look. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's actually... No, we're not going to do that. Let's do the sides here. Actually, let's get our other brush. Yeah, this. Get some of this called out so that we have sort of crisper lines between the two colors when you're not looking at it straight on. Am I on camera still or am I too high? Might be a little too high. There we go. Alright. Just trying to get a little bit crisper lines with some of these. It will make this slight color differentiation here better. All these base coats are almost certainly going to need a second coat as well, but just trying to get it started here. I mean, it's orcs. We don't have to be perfectly neat anyway. Just one of the great things about orcs. Right, I just realized I don't have a napkin to wipe my brush on, so that's fun. Yeah, that's great. Don't know if I have any upstairs either. I think they might all be down in the basement. Not in the basement, the regular level. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to paint this part also silver. Because I do want to do a pattern here. I'm going to be doing a black and silver check pattern. Because I don't... Orcs usually use a black and white check pattern, but I'm trying to avoid normal orc colors and only use them as like highlights. So I'll probably be calling out a couple pieces of armor in like Evil Sun's red and stuff like that, but I'm trying to use them sort of like as accents more than main armor pieces, because they are my Wah Boys. There are, you know, really heavy contrast, primarily white and black. Really like kind of goth-y painted, so mainly to match the color scheme from the movie. It also lines up really well with the fact that Gazgul is a goth. So alright, we'll go ahead and we'll do this one in silver, and we're not going to worry about any overspray here, because on the next one, when we do the lower panel, we'll fix it up. Okay. Block in our colors nice and quick. come back here, the exhaust, we're going to do that in rose gold. We are going to need to do these teeth in silver, so we'll call those out while we're here. And again, they say not going to be super neat. We're going to have to clean them up, but we'll get them blocked in so we know those colors are there at least. And when we're picking our other colors, it'll make our life a little bit easier. There we go. Alright, we've got a couple little blades and sharp stabby bits here and there. Go ahead, we'll call those out in silver as well. Same thing with these tusks. These are clearly just pieces of metal. They're not bone or anything like that. They don't have any like bone texture on them. We could do that with a wire brush if we wanted to make these bone instead, but I'm content with them being metal. And then we're going to just call out more blades and sharp pokey bits that we see all over the model. There we go. Just like these sharp pokey bits. Yeah, we'll go ahead. We'll call that like little cuff there. We'll call that out in silver as well. And then he's got this one here on the knee too. There we go. Alright, just trying to move the color completely around the model. Make sure there are no orphan colors when you view it. Slightly too far forward today. Just to make sure there's no orphan colors. We don't want you to look at a model and like say all the silver is on one side versus the other or something like that. That's what we want to avoid here. We don't want to get in a situation where like everything is really heavily skewed in one way and that like draws your eye or it looks repulsive, something like that. We want to make sure everything has a brother, everything has a friend as it moves around the model. Thankfully, because these orc models sort of being made out of garbage, they tend to have a lot of similar shapes that we can call out in different areas. You know, like for example, painting the blades all over the body. Doing those in one uniform color is going to help that. It's going to help us keep those stranded colors from being around the model. There we go. Alright, so that's our silver. We're going to go ahead, clean that brush off, and then we're going to grab some other colors. Okay, so we need some other armor panel colors, so let's find one. I've got this color, which I love, which is heavy charcoal. That's a good option. Remove my Ingram because he's in the way. We have dark stone. This is a little bit more of a brown. I don't think this model has any leather on it, so we don't need that. I don't need my phone. Let me move my phone. Phone's going over there. We have just pure matte black. Not a bad color. I do want like a dark gray. So I do, or like a lighter gray than that charcoal color, because I'm going to use that charcoal color a lot. I've got this, which is hardened carapace. This is a slightly brown dark gray. It's a really nice color. It might not be what I want today. I've got necromancer cloak. This is a pretty dark, almost black gray. We're going to use that one probably pretty heavily. Alright, so let's go ahead and we'll call that there. I think I have dungeon gray floating around on my desk somewhere. I could really use a second paint thing. There we go, dungeon gray. Alright, we're going to use that too. Lots of grays, lots of like monotone colors in this. Because they are wall boys, they are goths. So, this is some kind of fruit thing my husband got me at Starbucks. It's pretty good. I will say it has like chunks of fruit floating in it, which makes it look super gross though. Super gross. Alright. So Let's break out heavy charcoal. We'll do a couple panels in this. This is a very, very, very dark color. So we're not going to do a ton in heavy charcoal, but we'll call a couple of them out at least. So this is the color I really like to use for things like tires, because it's not exactly black. You don't really want tires to be exactly black, because rubber is not really purely black. So this is the color I tend to use for tires and things that I think are rubber. But we're going to use it for an armor tone here and there across this model. Just a little bit to get some variation in the dark armor panels that we're doing here. I do intend to keep all of the like mechanical bits. I do intend to keep all of them in gunmetal, which is why I painted this guy initially gunmetal, because it's going to do a lot of our work for a lot of the big body panels and stuff, because we're not going to repaint those. There we go. And let's call out this piece right here. But because we are gonna leave so much of this model as gunmetal, I apologize. The COVID shot is making me very phlegmy. So if I'm a little sniffly and stuff, I'm sorry. So yeah, we are going to leave so much as gunmetal, so we want to make sure that none of the like called out armor panels are actually still in gunmetal when we're done. We don't want them to be gunmetal. That way it will differentiate between sort of the more mechanical kind of pieces and the armor pieces as well. Okay. All right, little bits there and there. Let's go ahead and let's call this piece here out in our super dark black as well. Am I still on camera? Yeah. Cool. Welcome back. Did Mom show you the thing about cephalopods I sent her? Apparently, a cephalopod, they gave like a toddler cognition test to a cephalopod and it totally passed it. Because octopi are very smart and they are not native creatures to this planet. And if you think I'm bullshitting, go look up the octopi genome. Because it doesn't match anything else in the world. Which means they evolved completely independently of every other creature in the world. Or they're fucking aliens, man. Go! As opposed to orcs, which are fungus. I will say I do really like that about 40k orcs. Their lore is really, really fun. Because one, they're kind of silly. And two, the fact that they're like not mammalian creatures is really neat. And I know a lot of like trans people really identify with orcs. Because they don't actually have genders, which is kind of cool. So I know that's a thing that appeals to a lot of trans people, and I think that's rad. Because representation is super important. Alright, there we go. We got our black panel there as well. This top panel here, we're not going to do that one in super black. Don't want to do that in black. Don't want to do that in black. Just because we don't want any orphan colors. let's go ahead. Let's call this out in black here. We'll call this panel on the gun out in super black, just so we don't get, again, any orphan colors. We don't want anything to be by itself. We want everything to have a friend. All of our colors don't want to be alone. And this carries down to this panel here, I believe, which we can detail up. So I poured out a lot of this black, so we're probably going to do this black on the other mech as well that I had on the table that I was showing off. We're probably going to do the black on him too, because I poured out a lot of it and I don't want to waste it. So then we'll be back to our friend here. You want any black on this arm? Yeah, let's go ahead, just because we don't want to make sure there's no orphan colors on it. We'll call this panel here out in black as well. And that way when we call the rest of the gauntlet out in dark gray, it'll look good. There we go. Alright. That's that. Okay. I don't really want any of this. No, I guess let's try to put one on down on the leg or something. Alright, we're not going to make these even because I don't want the legs to be perfectly matching, but we'll call it out on one leg down here. We'll put some black down the leg. All right. These guys would probably be way easier if I hadn't attached them to the base already to paint, but that's a thing that I did. You'd think I'd learn to stop attaching vehicles to bases because they're way easier to paint when they're not on their bases. So yeah, having them be off the bases and then attaching them after like most of the lower body or like the undercarriage and stuff is painted, it's a way better way to do it. Alright, let's touch up that middle one. So I see a mistake I made right here. There we go. No, I've got armor panel here in this foot. Let's go ahead and we'll call that out on one side in black. And if this armor panel exists on the foot on the other side, we'll do it in our necromancer cloak next. There we go. Because we do want some variation in the color, even though these are goths and you're like, oh, everything should be black. It actually looks much better if everything is slightly different tones of black. Okay. Alright, so let's actually do some of that super dark black on this guy. Right here. Just because I have so much out and I don't really want to waste it. So I know he's not the model we're painting today, but I still have to paint him at some point. We'll just call it just a little bit on him. I will say these killer cans are really, really cool. They have a bunch of neat options in them and a bunch of different ways to build them. The other one I have from this set is like bouncing on one foot. I posed him. So I posed them in like various ways of silly, from walking forward and to like just standing there to bouncing up and down. There we go. Alright, and then let's, this guy has slightly less armor panels. We'll call out this one here in dark black. Didn't really walk through this guy's form like I did earlier, so I'm just sort of shoot him from the cuff, but it's alright. He's an orc, you know. He looks a little hodgepodge. That's good. That's their aesthetic. My neighbors are outside loudly arguing about something. Alright, then we'll do this one down here as well. Sorry, I am a little low on fuel today. I still want to paint, I still want to show it off. Oh, bye! I'm sorry you had to go to work. I had to do a little work this morning. I had to talk to a help desk before they closed for the day back in Maryland. But yeah, I am a little low energy to say the least. I kind of want to go back to bed. If I'm totally honest, I really want to go back to bed. I am very, very tired. And running out of steam by the minute. Alright, we'll go ahead and we'll call the black on him done for now. I got some of it used up at least. Alright, just so we can get back to our guy that we're painting. Go. Alright, let's shake up Necromancer Cloak. Let's actually grab a bunch of paints, shake them all at the same time. Save ourselves the effort. Hold on. Oh, COVID vaccine makes you very sore. Alright, that's all the shaking these are getting. I'm out of shake. Alright, we'll pull out our buddy Necromancer Cloak here. Go. This is going to be a little more gray kind of color. So a little bit darker than the gunmetal, which is nice because then it'll stand out some. Alright, we'll call out this panel down here. Again, just trying to have a nice little bit of variation in my sort of monochrome tones. I really don't want them to be like the same, because it will look way better if they have slight variation. And this should dry a good bit lighter than the heavy charcoal. It's gonna be a little bit darker while it is drying, while it's still wet though. Also, by pulling details out like this, you can draw attention to them, which is nice. So there's a lot of really cool detail in this model, but a lot of it might not be immediately apparent. Okay. Oh, man. Alright, so we're probably going to let a little bit of this dry, and I'm going to see how much variation there is between the two elements before I go too much farther with this color. So I think there's going to be enough variation between them, but if there's not, I will, I'll have to use like a different kind of gray. I'll have to use a lighter gray. All right. Okay. Let's try to touch up some of the areas since we still have some of this necromancer cloak out and wet. Let's get some better coverage in areas that I missed. I'm using a very, very, very tiny brush, so brush strokes and stuff are everywhere, and then it's also going to mean there's variation in all the tones. So just hitting it with a little bit of a second coat will help take care of that. Alright. Yeah, I think there's going to be enough variation there. I think it's going to look good. But so let's go ahead, let's keep picking pieces out. Worst case, we'll just have to paint back over them with a lighter tone later. We'll pull that whole piece out in silver since it's got a blade on it, and then we'll go ahead and we'll do this one here. Most of this arm is like mechanical detail really, so a lot of it's going to be gunmetal still, but we want to pull out the pieces we can. So I do want to have another monochrome tone in here, but I don't think it's going to be the next thing I paint. I think next we'll either do the wires, or we will do some of the brighter tones, just so I can get a better feel for the model and how stuff's going to lay across it. Because if some of the brighter tones pull it up too much, I might go back and pull out more panels in the darks instead. But overall, I'm just trying to have a consistent, like feeling across the model. You know, I don't want one area to feel too bright and one area to feel too dark or anything like that. I want it to feel kind of the same, with a little bit of emphasis on brightness around the areas I want people to look at. So like around the face and the center mass of the model, I want that area to be slightly brighter. Besides that, just trying to get it sort of the same across the whole model. And again, pulling the panels out, just it makes it more visually interesting to the user that's going to be looking at the model. Like sometimes having things be like accurate is not as important as having it be visually interesting for the person looking at it. I've been watching a lot of scale modeling tutorials that sort of emphasize this. And they put a lot of emphasis on the model being a presentation, and I think that's super important. I think it's very important for it to be something the user can find novel when they look at it. You know, like oh, you know, that looks cool, or oh, because you painted this a different color, I noticed this detail more, or something like that. You know, I think that's more important than it being like either like perfectly logical, like everything is the same color or whatever, or being accurate, like in the case of like say Gunpla or tanks or something like that. Alright. There he is. Getting a little darker there, which is nice. Let's go ahead and we'll touch this rim up. Should darken down the area around the face a little. And then we'll grab a color. We're either going to paint the exhausts, and they're like a rose gold kind of color I've been using for the exhausts. It's not really rose gold, and when you put a brown wash over it, it turns into like kind of like a weathered brass. So we're either going to do that, or we're going to paint in some of the really bright highlights. Okay, there he goes. He's coming along. You know what? I see bright bronze, so that's what we're going to use. One second, stretching. Oh. Ooh. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to pull out the like heat shielding kind of bits, these bits with the holes in them. And then we're going to pull out some of the like mechanical joints with this color as well. And this, when you hit it with a brown wash, it's going to get some of the brightness is going to get dulled, and it's going to give it a nice variation across the whole, like the whole like panel. It'll give it like a nice brown like kind of shade to it, which will be really cool. Bright bronze from Vallejo is actually one of my favorite colors. It might be slightly off screen again, because of how bright it is, but because of how much it can pick up the feeling of any wash you put over it. I like it quite a bit. Apologize if you can't see this step. I'm painting a very tiny bit on the inside of the arm to make sure it gets covered. Alright, there we go. Okay, we're going to hit this corner again, get some better coverage there. You can see how messy that is. Oh, messy job I've done there. We'll go back and we'll clean that up. Alright. We want to do the same thing down here. We have the same kind of like holy texture. So we want to keep the same color for that. We are going to try to keep the same. Oh, there's a bad nub on that. You want to clip that nub off. There we go. We do want to try to keep overall the same color for the same kinds of pieces. If we can't, we can't, but that's our goal. We're not going to worry about making sure the inside of those is painted too much, because they are just going to suck up the wash. You know, I don't know why this claw has an exhaust pipe, but it's really cool. Okay. And we have the same thing here on the top. I'm going to pull that same shape out as well. So yeah, the charcoal and the necromancer cloak aren't that different actually, which is kind of unfortunate. We might have to go back. Ooh, we're getting a little clunky, chunky there. Gotta watch out for that with these metallic paints. We might actually have to go back and swap in a different tone for that, because there's not a lot of differentiation there. They're looking very similar. Maybe we'll swap the the necromancer cloak or something into dungeon gray, one of the like more grays maybe. We just don't want this guy to be like black and gunmetal, you know. We want some variation in the monotone, because then it's going to make it just more interesting for the user. There we go. Alright, and then we're going to pull out, let's do this shape here. She's getting too chunky. I need to get new paint. Alright, let's grab some more of that paint. There we go. There we go. Okay, now let's figure out where else we want to do that at. We want to call out these bolts here. Let's do those. Same color. That one there, that one there. We want to call out this here. Anywhere we've got these little bolts that are holding stuff together, we want to call those out in the same color. Not like every bolt, but like anywhere it's clearly like a join or like a joint kind of thing. That's what we want to do. And we've got some more heat shielding here on the exhausts. Looking pretty good. Okay, we've got another heat shield up here on the top. We'll go ahead and we'll call that out as well. Since we already painted the piece near it, we'll try to be a little bit neater there, so we don't need to break out more than one color to clean up. Ideally, anytime we have colors near each other, we'll try to be as neat as possible, because that way our last step will be like a gunmetal cleanup, where we go around and we clean up any of the gunmetal that we screwed up during the earlier phases, because the gunmetal is still our primer, so this will also give us a final step to make sure that it's kind of evenly coated and that I didn't really miss too much in any one area. Okay, we got another heat shield here as well, and one here as well. So let's go ahead and get those blocked in as well. Orcs like this texture a lot. This sort of like metal with the holes in it. Something else you'll see a lot in orc vehicles is flame cut marks, where the metal is kind of like chewed up on one side. It's just a really neat detail a lot of them have, and I've been seeing a bunch in the skill modeling tutorials I've been watching. And apparently there's a community of people that basically put those in by hand, which is really neat. Kind of crazy, but really, really neat. As anyone who's ever tried to make their own like armor panels and stuff, it's a cool detail that I think you could add to get some really neat effects. Haven't 100% tried it yet. I've been messing with it a little bit, but definitely adds like a worn kind of like more heavy look to the piece. It's really neat. Okay, get in there, up under there. This piece I missed right here. Okay, and then back to picking out things as we find them. Go. There we go. We got some down here on the claw. There's going to be a lot of this color on the claw, but just unavoidable from the design. See, our brush is getting a little mucky, but I think we're almost done with this color, so we're just going to leave it for now. I think this is pretty much the last bit of this we're doing with this color for now. We got the inside of the knee here. We should get that as well. Just because if someone catches it with their eye, it's more interesting to have a little bit of detail and a little bit of color. Even if it's not perfect. There we go. Oh. Alright, it's COVID stretch time. 1 second. I found more things I need to paint. Okay. No, god damn it, I found more things I need to paint. Okay, now it's COVID stretch time. Oh, fucking hell. So sore. Oh. Okay. Oh, God. Alright, let's do a fun part of this instead of just some of these little details. Which I'm going to have to go back and clean up. There's not enough variation between the armor panels for me. So I'm going to have to go back and swap some of them out. What color eyes do we want them to have? Toxic Mist. And Squid Pink. Let's get the tiniest little bit of this out. And we'll get some eyes in there. This is definitely the kind of thing where I don't want everyone to have like the same kind of eyes and stuff like that, so. Alright, so let's say this one here in the middle is going to be pink. Like that. Let's say that's going to be pink. Like that. I got out a lot of pink for just that. Let's get our blue. Go ahead and we're going to paint this little visor in. We can do a sun mark in the visor if we want to after it's dried, but we'll at least get this first color in first. There's a lot of water on my brush still. Okay. That other eye painted. This guy actually has 6 eyes. Or 5 eyes, I guess. There we go. Alright, nice little bright color there. Catch the eye and draw you to that area. Let's, oh, I'm out of time. Let's do some wires and then we'll go ahead and we'll call it while I think about what other metal color, what other panel metal color to use. So let's find a bright red on my desk. Somewhere. There it is. Oh. Here we go. And we'll go ahead and we'll do in some of these wires. Sorry, I'm listening to the noise from downstairs. I keep hearing this like mechanical wheel sound. I'm not sure if my husband is using a drill or if he is vacuuming. So yeah, as you can see, the wires they're gonna pull some nice needed color and contrast into the monochrome. The monochrome is not going to end up being as monochrome as it is now, because we're going to have some more variation in there, but they will pull in some nice things to catch your eye, sort of break up the dark shapes. You can see it starting to happen already with the face. It looks pretty good. And maybe we'll actually call out some of these cables in yellow instead, and even have some variation there. Like say maybe do one side of this in yellow and one side in red. Something like that. Maybe some like striping for like hazard symbol or something like that might be kind of cool. Maybe we'll do that as well. But probably not today because I am mega out of steam. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call it after I paint in some of these wires, just so we can get a better feel for what this model is going to end up being, what he's going to end up looking like. I always, you know, I don't like to do subassembly and stuff because I like to have a feeling for the personality of the model as I go along. I really like to sort of, you know, get the impression, you know, of my model. When you do sub-assemblies, like if you sub-assemble everything, yeah, it's way easier to paint. But you don't get the feeling of it, right? Like you don't get a feeling of the character. You don't get the feeling of the person looking at the model for the first time. You know, you don't see how the colors work together, like, right? 'Cause you're painting. This is a presentation. This isn't just, you know, how well can I put paint on plastic. This is, you know, you like sharing an idea you're having with the person looking at it. You know, you're like, oh, I think this would be neat. I think this would look cool. And if you just do one part or whatever at a time, I feel like that's hard to get the overall idea, right? It can make your painting, like, at least in my opinion, a little bit sterile. Like, even though when you're painting like that, it's often easier to execute, you know, but sometimes the challenge of going around the model, like sitting here, you know, spinning it in my hand, I get to sort of feel the model and like feel how the shapes work and like how the ideas flow from one together as I'm turning it around, you know, like what can I see from this angle, what can I see from that angle, stuff like that. I don't think this is like a pretty normal idea for miniature painting. I think a lot of miniature painters, they pretty much just want to execute it as well as possible, which is fine. I mean, if that's what you want to do, do it. I think this idea is a lot more common in like Gunpla and stuff like that, which is really where my initial heritage is from. I'm doing Gunpla way longer than I have been doing Warhammer, that's for sure. You know, and I think this idea is strong there because, you know, all those kits, they're all from shows and comics and stuff. So, you know, they are characters, right? Like, someone builds the Barbatos Lupus, right? And there's, like, they have heritage with that because they've seen the show, right? They have story already with the model before they even break it off the sprue. Also, don't break models off sprues. Nip them off, please. But like, you know, they have this idea of character already. So I think like emphasis on that, like like the Bulldog I showed, right? The only reason he's torn apart into pieces right now is because I don't want to spray him together because it might mess up the joints. So as soon as he is sprayed, right, as soon as he is top coated, I will be putting him back together and then painting him together. I won't be painting him separate and then assembling him. Even though technically you can get a nicer result that way, that's not what I want. I don't want a nicer result. No, I want to have a sense of the character and the presentation as I work on the model. Okay. Alright, are there any other wires? The wires are going to need a second coat just because I'm using such a small brush for them that the paint's not going on super evenly. So they are going to need a second coat. But let's see. If I missed any. Which I don't think I did. Yeah, some of these I'm probably going to pull out in orange. So I'm not going to super worry about the second coat right now. I'm just doing it because it's on my brush. See, there's a heat panel that I missed. Let's see, I missed the view from the inside here. Go ahead and clean that up. Put some paint there. Alright. We are a good bit over time today, so we'll go ahead and we'll call it there. And this is what we got done on the start of our killer can. We are going to have to the charcoal and the necromancer cloak are too close, so we are going to have to grab a different color for that. That's okay. No worries there. And yeah, that should be good. Sorry, my brain was zoning out thinking about what else I have to do on this guy. Yeah, alright. Let me call it there. I'm just sitting here zoning out because COVID vaccine. But thank you guys for watching today. I'm going to go see what my husband's doing downstairs. Let me swap back to this camera so you can at least look at the model we worked on while I end my show. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this was interesting. I might be putting up a special video sometime this week. Assuming I get off this COVID bleh that I'm on from the shot. And then I will be doing something on Sunday, maybe playing a game. I haven't played a game in a while, so I kind of really want to. So maybe we'll do that. All right, well, I'm gonna call it here, and I hope everyone has a very nice day.